Don't worry if your Caladium looks like this. This isn't dead despite what it looks like. In this video I'm going to run through Caladium plant care tips over the winter period so that you can keep your plants coming back year after year bigger and better than the year before. So this one looks like it's going to endure a little bit longer than the one that I showed at the start, the Caladium candidum. This is a Caladium rosebud with these lovely bright green leaves and the rose red or pink in the centre. So this one does still have quite a few good leaves on it. However, you will notice it does also have some dead leaves that have sort of drooped down the side. If this starts to happen and your Caladium looks like this, don't worry, depending on the time of year that it is. If it's early in the year, perhaps there is something wrong. But if it's towards the end of the year, if it's towards sort of mid-autumn moving on to winter, this is just a natural part of the Caladium cycle. So when it comes to the colder months, they will start to die back. So leaf growth will slow and the existing leaves will start to die off, just like these ones have, until eventually you shouldn't have many, if any, leaves at all, just like the Caladium candidum that I showed you at the start. That's pretty much all died off now. I've left the dead leaves on there just for illustration purposes to show you how dramatic it can look. However, you might choose to cut them back as and when they start to die off, just to keep them looking a little bit tidier. So when this does start to happen, there are just a couple of simple steps that you can take to help your Caladium bulb stay healthy over winter and grow again the following year. Caladiums prefer moist soil, so you might water them quite regularly. However, when it comes to the end of their cycle, what you'll want to do is reduce watering until you come to an eventual stop altogether, and then let the soil dry out completely. So when the leaves do all die off, then you can remove them from the pot. You may do that as and when they die off, or you might leave them all and then do them all at once and clear the pot. So I'm going to do that with this one, which I've left, and just show you what it looks like afterwards. So as you'll see, that very untidy plant is now a nice tidy empty pot. However, the bulb is still in there. So there are two ways that you can store the bulb once you have removed the leaves. You can leave it in the soil, providing the soil is completely dry. If there is any sort of dampness in the soil, it can lead to rotting of the bulb. So just make sure that you have left off watering enough so that the soil is completely dry, and then you can store this in a cool, dark place over the winter period. If you decide to remove it from the soil, all you need to do is unpot it, take the bulb out, and then you can remove any roots that might be on the bulb as well, so you've just got the bulb left. So I'll do that next with a different plant just to show you what I mean. The reason I'm not doing it with this one is I've just removed the plastic pot from the big pot and noticed there is quite a large spider on the bottom of it that I don't want to disturb, so I'm going to leave that there and try a different Caladium. So this Caladium that I've just got, this Caladium sizzle, to show you removing the bulb from the soil, this one actually has quite a few new leaves, or what looks like new leaves coming up alongside the dead ones. This isn't a sign that it's going to necessarily continue growing, as I've stopped watering it and it is coming to the end of its cycle. So all I'm going to do is remove those two as I remove the dead leaves before I remove the bulb from the soil, and that'll just make sure that the bulb can store its energy over the winter period and come back stronger next year. So now we've got an empty pot just like the other one, but I'm going to actually unpot this one so that then we can get the bulb out. So I'm making such a mess with this, getting soil everywhere, but I've just tipped the pot out into the larger pot just so that it contains most of the soil. You'll see the underside with the roots on, and all I'm going to do is just break that down if I can. So here is what, it doesn't look like a lot, but here's one with the roots dangling off the bottom, and I actually think this has got multiple bulbs in the soil. So here is one, this is just a small one, and I'm just going to keep going through until I get them all out. Here's another one. So we'll use this one for example. So this is just a small piece of the bulb, probably the main piece. If you can see, this one has got the bits of leaf that I cut back on top, and then all of these roots on the bottom. And as I said, I'm just going to cut that back a little bit further, so the leaves, or the tiny bits that were still within the soil, I'm just going to cut those off, as we don't need those. And then all of these roots, again, don't need these, as we're going to store the bulb, so it doesn't need roots. It is still slightly damp where these were further down in the soil. Now just before I go on to the next bit, I'm not sure if the microphone will pick this up, but it's raining incredibly heavily here, which is battering the house. So if you can hear that, that's just the rain in the background. I've now got 3 of the bulbs, 3 of the larger bulbs here, as you can see, which have been removed from the soil. The roots have been cut back, the leaves have been removed from the top. As I said, these are still a little bit damp, so I'm going to leave these to air dry out for maybe a couple of weeks just to make sure they go completely dry. I'll dust off any of this excess soil, and then I can store them in a dry medium, as I said, sawdust or dry sand in a paper bag perhaps, so that they stay dry over the winter and then they can be planted again next year. Do you have any other winter plant care tips for caladiums? If so, share in the comments below so that others can learn from your experience. For example, how do you like to preserve the bulbs? Do you keep them in the soil or take them out and put them in some sort of dry medium? What medium do you use? What works best for you? I find it really interesting that these amazing, large, colourful plants come from such odd looking bulbs, but I suppose that's the case with most flower bulbs. Hopefully you found this video useful in showing you how to care for your caladiums over the winter period so that you can get your plants coming back year after year bigger and better than the year before. If you have, please consider hitting the subscribe button. We'll have new videos every week, usually on a Sunday. As always, thank you for watching. Grow your well-being.